Today, I'm going to speak about success. Success as a slow burn. I am Ajinkya Deshmukh. I belong to the small town of Maharashtra called as Washim. Washim is not exactly known for its opportunities, but it is a place where dreams grow. It's like any other small town where you can dream about what you aspire, what you can do, and what you can intend to do. Someone told me that success is the right mixture of being at the right place at the right time, of the right opportunity, and most importantly, an impact. But the journey that I've actually been traversing so far says otherwise. It says that success is a sum total of the decisions, thousands of decisions that you make. It's a sum total of, most importantly, connections, relationship you foster, and the people you connect with. Success is a slow one. It's not an overnight thing. It's not something that you achieve by being at the right place at the right time. It's something that is a sum total, that an integration of failures, of what you think, and most importantly, how you act upon it. I want to tell you a story of my life, but in the form of an idea of what I did, of what I succeeded in doing, and most importantly, what I failed in doing. When I entered the world of media and communications, it was not an easy thing for me because my education, my peers, and most importantly, the kind of people that I interacted with told me that media and communication is not something that you could do. It's not something that you are made of. It's not something that you are made to do. But then I started to realize that there was little truth to it. I mean, of course, there were not opportunities. There were really less opportunities for someone who belonged to a place where opportunity was not even the buzzword. When I entered the world of communications, I started to explore opportunities. I started to know what lies underneath the bigger picture. And the idea that I'm going to share with you is nothing but what lies underneath the big picture. I knew that what I wanted to do, what I wanted to do was to understand the mentality of people, to understand what people want. I didn't want to be the Goliath. I was well content to be the David, who could use a stone's throw at a moment's notice, but who was willing to wait patiently for his opportunity. There came a period in time when I was not sure what I was supposed to do. But then one fine day, I realized that what I wanted, I was at the crossroads of my career when I realized that it is my job to foster connections for myself, for my employer, and for someone who wishes well for me. Then came out of the blue one person that I've connected with. I won't name him because persons are the name of a person is not as important as what they stand for, what they are representative of. So that person connected me with an organization, a global organization. And that global organization connected me to something that I could be proud of. That work of mine ensured that I got, as I was telling someone, the Oscar of the largest media house of Maharashtra. And that was the peak where I thought that I had achieved. But they gave the trust. And this is what success means for me. It's a slow burn process. Then I realized that peak is not enough. Roughs are also important. Because unless and until there is a sine wave in your life, or at least that ECG diagram that you just acquainted yourself with, unless and until there is a trough and crest on that, you are not alive. And this is where I realized that troughs are also necessary. So there comes my second point, failures. What are failures? I mean, I don't think failure is something that depresses you. I think failure is something that is part of success. It is just that it is the other side of the coin. But it is as much important for you as being successful as being a failure. Because I realized that I had got an award, I was appreciated, but then I realized that I wanted to explore myself more. So, as I told you, it was all about fostering connections. So, in that slide, I had interviewed the likes of Nawazuddin Siddiqui, John Abraham, and many other people. So, how did I come to know of that particular factor, which would ensure that I was on the right track? It is just as important as talking to someone who does know it. It is all about being inquisitive. It is all about being inquisitive. And most importantly, it is all about being open to ideas, open to being patient to listen to others. And this is where I started my interview work, which was part of that slow burn process, which is nothing but success. So what happens? What happens in an interview? Even when people are made to believe that interviews are something extraordinary, they are, but they are not that much extraordinary as they are made to believe. If I'm talking to a person, I'm talking to myself. So if I'm talking to the likes of a celebrity, I'm talking to someone that I want to know. And that someone is me. Right. So, I mean, people say, I have conducted not less than, say, 800 interviews in my life of people belonging to various strata of the society. And that itself is a big achievement. I mean, of course, there have been moments where I've been felicitated, where I've been awarded with glory and recognition. But the bottom line of that particular aspect is that those recognitions, those awards don't matter at. It is what matters is storytelling. What matters is adding zinc to that particular slow burn process, which is success. Now we come to the next point. The next point is collaboration, conceptualization. The reason why I actually raised the point of collaboration and conceptualization is because it is not just about your career, or it is not just about your profession. The concept of life, the concept of work should be clear in your mind. And you should be willing to unlearn the concept that you form in your mind. So a concept is best represented in my life, at least by an event. So what is a concept? A concept which is imaginary, which is fictional. And it is my job as someone who is willing to sell that concept to be able to convince my prospective associate that that concept is not just workable, but also feasible in the long run. So what's important is that concept has to be feasible, and that you should be willing to do what is necessary, which is unlearning and breaking that concept into various parts. Now we come to the next point of collaboration. What is collaboration? The theme of today's event is diversity and inclusion. And collaboration is a sum total of diversity and inclusion. You need to work in a team. You need to be able to understand what is important is as being a leader, as being someone who is a team player. And this is where collaboration comes into form. As a collaborator, you should be willing to listen to the point that you are wrong. You can be wrong, you can be right, and yet be proven wrong. And hence, collaboration is a tolerant process. You need to be able to tolerate the fact that you can be right and yet be proven wrong. And this is where comes the point where you understand the point of being able to add to that process of gradual recognition. It is collaboration, it is cooperation, and it is conceptualization. Grandeur, chasing grandeur is not important. Grandeur comes and go. Of course, successes come and go. What is important is to be able to understand what is your core. And that core is understanding that success is a gradual process. It's something that is behind in a way which makes you what you are, which makes you your future, and which makes you what you are not supposed to be. It's a process of a human being converted into something that he's supposed to be. And there comes my final point. The point of being able to leave everything behind and start afresh. During the COVID period, we all were facing troubles. We all were searching for ourselves. And even I was searching for myself. Then one fine day, I realized that writing is one of my fortes, which I was reasonably good at. And then I took up my pen and paper and started writing about a mythological character, Angaraj Karan. And after a period of 5 to 6 months of writing, brainstorming, and Samudra Manthan of mind, which gave out Alahal, Amrut, and several other pearls, I came out with the book, The Shining Warrior. It was the only take in English language on the mythological character of Angaraj Karan. And that book gave me not just limelight, but also a new light. There is a tunnel. There is a tunnel. You have to go through that tunnel. But there is always a light. And you need to find that light. But that light is only generated through a slow burn process. You cannot just shine a torch and see that light. You need to go through the tunnel. You need to burn yourself in the process of a slow burn. And therein comes the process of success. I guess we all are destined to be something, but that something needs to be resultant of a process. And that process is success as a slow one. In closing, I would like to say that not every success is final. Not every failure is fatal. It is your zeal and will to go ahead that matters. Thank you so much.